Am I the asshole for allowing my mother to wear white to my wedding? Which, do you guys have?
Not maybe quite as much
crazy
as
as
in
us.
America, but it is a thing.
This started when my mother mentioned to me that she felt sad she wasn't a bridesmaid. I agree that my mother should at least have had some role, at least got her makeup done with the bridal party. Just anything. But my now wife just overlooked her somehow, and by the time my mother spoke her true feelings, it was too late to accommodate for an additional bridesmaid. I did ask my wife about a month away from the wedding if my mother could be a bridesmaid, and my wife said no. She was stressed out and just didn't want to go through the process of incorporating a last-minute bridesmaid, and I understood that. My mother asked if she could at least sing/perform a song to me at our wedding, and my wife and I both agreed to say no because we already paid for a band. When we said no, she asked if she could be incorporated into giving the groom away and walking me down the aisle, but my wife again said no. I felt really bad at this point because my mom wanted desperately to be involved in the ceremony or in the bridal party. We had said no to most of her requests, but when I told this to my wife that we should do something special for my mother, my wife said she felt that we had already included her by planning to have her in photos and letting her have a one-on-one dance with me before our first dance as a couple even, though there wasn't going to be a father-daughter dance. Weeks before the wedding, my mother tells me she was expecting this whole time for my wife to pick out a dress for her since she was the mother of the groom. My mother was crying and upset. When I mentioned this to my wife got annoyed and said that she told my mother the dress code over and over again, and that if my mother wanted to be involved any further than she was, it was me that would have to do the planning for that, like picking her dress. I didn't want to hurt my mom's feelings. I don't know how to pick a dress, even remotely, or plan for that. So I just told her the bridal party is wearing neutral colors, the groomsmen are wearing beige suits. I trusted her to pick out a dress that met the criteria and was appropriate. Fast forward to the day of the wedding. My wife complained all night that my mother was wearing white and asked why I would pick out a wedding dress for her to wear. She said that it was humiliating standing at the altar with me and 4 feet away, my mother is wearing a wedding gown. I tried to explain to her that I had no idea what my mother was going to wear, but I honestly don't even think it looked like a wedding dress. My wife said everyone at the wedding was laughing at my mother, which is just flat out mean. At the end of the day, I don't think this was my fault that my mother did anything wrong. White is a neutral color. I feel she could have just picked my mother's outfit herself. Am I the asshole?
Wow. A lot to unravel here as well. I've never heard of mother of the bride or mother of the groom being a bridesmaid.
No,
You're
because they're the mother of the groom.
You're the mother of the groom. You're the mother of the bride.
That was so weird.
You're never in a million years going to be a bridesmaid.
No.
Even if it was her, you don't have your mum as the bridesmaid. You're the mother of the bride.
Am I in the wrong for deciding to quietly change my will without telling my wife? My 34 male wife, 32 female, and I just had our first baby today. We were in the delivery room, all was going well, and I was holding her hand trying my best to be supportive. She was in labor and experiencing irregular contractions that she said weren't painful yet. I told her how much I loved her and that she was doing great, but made sure not to talk too much either. All of a sudden, my wife tells me, "Please get out." I asked her what happened, and she says she just doesn't want me there right now. I stand there in surprise for several seconds, after which the midwife tells me to get out or she'll call security. I feel humiliated. Not only was I banned abruptly from watching my child's birth, but it was under the threat of force. Throughout our marriage, I've suspected my wife wouldn't be with me if it wasn't for my job and the family background. Her eyes don't light up when I come home from work. I start our long hugs and she ends them early. Her eyes wander when I'm talking to her. I don't think she loves me nearly as much as I love her. I'm not accusing her of being a gold digger. She may love me on some level, but I don't know that she's ever been in love with me. If I die tomorrow, I don't know if it would take her very long to move on. I live in a state where the right to an elective share is 25% of separate property. We don't have a prenup, so this means that my wife has a right to at least 25% of my separate property if I die, even if I were to disinherit her in my will. I've decided to will her 30% of my separate property, was previously 100%, and 100% of our communal property if I die. The rest of my separate property, including income-producing assets and heirlooms, goes to my children and other family members. So, am I in the wrong? I'm considering divorcing my wife because she can't get over her mom dying. Yeah, I know, everyone is fired up at the title and ready to tell me what an a-hole I am. My 36 male, wife's 33 female mother passed away 5 years ago from lung cancer. It was not a peaceful or easy death. Our lives understandably went on pause after the diagnosis, and we both spent a lot of time off of work helping care for her mother. My wife had pretty much a typical showing of grief at the time, cycling through the different stages. Same with our 3 kids. After she passed, however, my wife got really bad. I totally understand this. I can't say I know exactly what she went through because I haven't had a parent die, but I understand how devastated she was. For months after she could barely function, I gently took over pretty much all of the responsibilities in the household and with the kids. She had been attending grief counseling since the diagnosis and continued after the death. None of this is the problem. I endeavored to be as supportive as possible. She cried on my shoulders every night for months, and I just thought this was the worst of for the better or worse. The problem is that after 5 years, she does not seem any better or more functional. She stopped grief counseling about 4 years ago and refused to go again, stating it would not help her and nothing could. About a month before any major holiday, she'll have a major turndown. In bed half of the day, crying all day, does not want to interact with the family, does not have the energy to do anything around the house. This will go on every single day until about a week after the holiday ends. Every holiday is intense grief, just as much now as it was 5 years ago. October, November, December, and January, her mom's birthday month, every year are particularly bad. I'm essentially without my wife, and I'm a single parent to my 3 kids. She's completely incapacitated by the grief for about 6 months out of the year and has been the past 5 years. When I say incapacitated, I mean incapacitated. When she's in the depths of her grief, she's completely incapable of intimacy with me or the kids. There's no cuddling, spending time with us, going on family outings. We don't do the deed for half of the year. I've stopped asking her if she wants to talk about it because she can't get any words out between sobs if she tries. What hurts the most is that the kids have stopped asking or being concerned. If they see their mom in bed when they get home, they just go about their day and might casually mention, "Oh, mom's sad today," if they're siblings or I ask where she is. They don't really seek affection with her anymore because they rarely get anything more than tears. I've discussed this with therapists, my parents, friends, etc. And I know all the rebuttals people have for this, so let me preempt them. She's unwilling to go back to therapy for grief counseling or to see a doctor for depression. Yes, I know she's severely depressed. I can't force her to go to the doctor. I've tried so much. Yes, it really is just as intense as it was 5 years ago. No, I never tell her to get over it or blow her off. On my worst days, I just give her space and leave her be. Most days, I try to offer her some comfort. If you want to judge me for leaving her alone, whatever. But know that I feel like I essentially have caretaker fatigue at this point. No, she does not have a history of depression, but she does have ADHD. Don't know if that's relevant. I feel like my wife and I when her mom died. I would do anything to get her back, even a small piece of her. But she doesn't seem willing or able to move past her mom's death. I feel awful for considering a divorce, but I don't know what else to do.
About 8 months ago, I won the lottery. Yes, the actual lottery. It sounds kind of old school for my age. I'm not yet 30, but I have always been into buying lottery tickets. It runs in the family. My grandma used to be massively into buying scratchies. And then, one day, about 8 months ago, I won a whole stack of money. Just under 7 figures to be exact. I could not believe it. I can't explain the feeling of having your whole life change in an instant. Suddenly, I could buy a car. I didn't need to save for 2 years to go to Europe. I could just buy whatever I wanted. When I found out, the only person I called was my mum. She raised me as a single mum, and I wanted to share the news and the money with her. Obviously, it took me a few hours to convince her I wasn't joking, and then she just couldn't stop crying. It changed her life too. It's so weird. People always ask you hypothetical questions about the lottery. What would you do with the money? Would you tell everyone or no one? I could never understand how people would win the lottery and keep it a secret. The logistics blew my mind. How could you just come into money and not tell your best friend? But now I get it. After all, the only person in my life who knows I won the money is my mum, not my friends or extended family. I haven't told a soul. I never really planned to keep it so secret. Initially, I told myself I wanted to get my head around the money before I told people about it. And then months went on, and there was never a moment where it felt like I wanted to tell people. Since winning the money, I've done quite a bit of shopping, like a lot. I bought a car and a bunch of designer bags and clothes. I have a new watch. It costs more than my old car. I wasn't exactly being subtle about it. Naturally, people started talking behind my back. They noticed and were intrigued. A few weeks ago, my best friend sort of confronted me about it, telling me people were talking about it and wondering herself if something had changed. I flipped out. I got so mad at her and said some really ugly things. I guess I found it really hypocritical. So many of the people talking about me came from wealthy families. They inherited money every day, but no one questioned them about anything because what? They deserve the money? Was it the fact that money suited people more if their family always had it? I can't explain why I got so mad, but I did. I ended up lying to her. I told her that actually I was buying things on credit and was now in a whole heap of debt and I was struggling to pay it off.
Oh, it's a big lie.
I just wanted her to get off my back. And now I'm in another whole web of lies. Since then, she's been checking in on me and is really worried about me. Am I a horrible person? Should I have just told her about the lottery win?
This idea that you don't have to necessarily love completely every part of yourself or things you don't like and just accept it is a much more attainable way to do it.
Absolutely. I think it's unrealistic to love anything completely. There's always going to be aspects of anything in life that you experience, even if you love something with all of your being, like a child or, you know, your partner or something like that.
A dog.
Or what you do, an animal, you know, whatever it is, you love this one thing so very much.
There's always going to be something that's...
There's always that little
Always.
piece that's, you know,
And that's
you're like,
human.
oh, I would change that. But that's the thing. That's what makes it real